They say you have to attract what you want. Think about it long enough. Visualize it clearly. Speak it into existence. Repeat it again and again. And eventually, the universe will respond. That's what most people have been told about manifestation. But let me ask you something. If that really worked, why are so many people still stuck? Still waiting? Still doing all the things right, but watching nothing change? Maybe it's not you. Maybe it's the framework itself that's broken. Because the truth is, you don't attract. You tune. Yes, read that again. You don't attract. You tune. The reality you desire is not something out there that has to be pulled into your field through effort. It already exists. It's already vibrating somewhere in the infinite quantum field. The only question is, are you matching it? That question changes everything, because now it's no longer about effort. It's about frequency. It's not about saying the right affirmation. It's about becoming the version of you who no longer needs to say it. And that's where the real shift begins. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are tuned to. And most people, without knowing it, are tuned into fear. You want abundance, but your nervous system is locked in survival. You want love, but your inner dialogue vibrates with self-doubt. You want freedom, but your habits scream control. You want a new life, but your frequency is still emitting signals from the old one. The truth is simple. You can't fake a frequency. The field doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you broadcast. And what you broadcast is not just your thoughts, but your emotions. Your subconscious programs your internal state. The field is listening all the time, not with ears, but with vibration. And here's what makes this so powerful. Once you realize this, you don't have to chase anymore. You don't have to force, manipulate, or beg the universe to give you what you want. You just have to align with it. You just have to become a vibrational match to what already exists. Because the moment you do, the field responds, not with delay, but with precision. This is not spiritual theory. It's quantum physics. In quantum mechanics, reality doesn't appear until it's observed. Until something collapses, the wave function into a particle. And what is the collapse made of? Attention, awareness, intention, frequency. You're not living in a static universe. You're living in a responsive one. One that's waiting for you to choose, not with your words, but with your vibration. But here's the trap. If you're trying to attract from a place of fear, from lack, from desperation, you are not aligned. You are split. You are asking for one thing while vibrating the opposite. And the universe, ever precise, doesn't hear your desire. It hears your fear. That's why people say manifestation doesn't work. But it does. It just doesn't work for your words. It works for your energy. So the real question isn't, how do I attract? The real question is, what am I emitting right now? That's where the power is. That's where the shift happens. That's where you begin to move from force to frequency, from chasing to tuning, from manifesting from the mind to manifesting from the soul. Because when you tune your frequency, you stop sending mixed signals. You stop confusing the field. You stop creating delays. Instead, you become coherent, and coherence is magnetic. Coherence is powerful. Coherence is the moment when your heart, your mind, and your body say the same thing, not in words, but in energy, and that's when everything changes. So here's the invitation. Stop trying to attract. Stop trying to pull in a reality like it's distant from you. It's not. It's already here, just vibrating at a different frequency. You don't need to reach it. You need to resonate with it. That means you have to release the fear. You have to release the resistance. You have to stop emitting panic and calling it intention. You have to let go of the belief that more effort equals faster results. Because the quantum field doesn't respond to pressure, it responds to presence. The more you tune, the more you align. The more you align, the more you collapse. The more you collapse, the faster your outer world reflects your inner transformation. Not because you chased something, but because you finally stopped running away from who you really are. And who you really are is already enough to match what you desire. The question is, are you ready to stop chasing? Are you ready to stop broadcasting fear? Are you ready to start tuning consistently, consciously, vibrationally? Because once you do, the field begins to listen. And when it listens, it responds, not to what you want, but to what you are. The universe isn't silent, it's vibrational, and you're always in conversation with it, whether you realize it or not. Every thought, every emotion, every micro-reaction you have is a signal being sent into the quantum field. There are no neutral moments, no off switch. Even when you're not trying to manifest, you're manifesting. Because your frequency never stops broadcasting. This is the part most people miss. They think the field responds when they meditate, or visualize, or journal. But the truth is far more intimate and far more confronting. The field is not activated by your rituals. It's activated by your state, your nervous system, your emotional baseline, your dominant beliefs, especially the ones you don't even know you're carrying. That's the real frequency you're emitting. And that frequency is what the field is mirroring back into your life experience. Dr. Joe Dispenza calls it your electromagnetic signature. It's the total vibrational fingerprint of your being. Your thoughts create an electric charge. Your emotions generate a magnetic field. Together they become a signal. And the field, like a mirror with no delay, reflects that signal back as people, opportunities, patterns, delays, synchronicities, or silence. And that reflection, it never lies. You can't talk your way into a new reality. You can only tune your way into it. The field is not reactive to language, it's responsive to coherence. When your inner world is aligned, the outer world reorganizes. But when there's misalignment, when you say one thing, feel another, and behave in contradiction to both, the field doesn't punish you, it pauses, it waits. It holds your next timeline in suspension until you become a match. This is why so many people feel stuck. Not because the universe is withholding, but because their broadcast is scrambled. They say, I want abundance. But they wake up every day with anxiety. They declare, I'm ready for love. But their hearts are still closed from old wounds. They visualize success, but their self-image hasn't shifted in years. And so the field responds accordingly, with more of the same. Not because it's being cruel, but because it's being precise. In quantum physics, we call this coherence. When the parts of a system are in alignment, the whole system becomes more powerful. In your case, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned, your frequency becomes clean, strong, magnetic. You don't have to push or beg. You just have to be. But when even one part of your system is out of sync, the signal weakens, and the field doesn't know what to do with it. It can't match you if you're fragmented. And this fragmentation, this dissonance, is what keeps so many people trapped in cycles they don't understand. The truth is, you're always creating. The question is, what frequency are you using to create? Fear is a frequency. Trust is a frequency. Gratitude is a frequency. Scarcity is a frequency. Love is a frequency. Control is a frequency. Every time you act, speak, or even think from one of these frequencies, you're sending a vibrational code into the fabric of reality. That code becomes your experience, not by magic, but by resonance. This is the real law of attraction. Not that you pull things toward you with desire, but that you collapse realities through coherent alignment. And here's the deeper layer. You don't even need to believe in this for it to be true. The field doesn't require your belief. It responds to your signal. And your signal is always active, even now. As you listen to this, reflect. What have you been communicating without words? What has your body, your mood, your inner monologue been saying to the field? And how has the field been answering? Because it's not ignoring you. It's responding with surgical precision to your default settings, to your vibrational habits, to your emotional autopilot. And this is not a punishment. It's a portal. Because once you become aware of what you're emitting, you can change it. That's the real power here. You don't need to try harder. You don't need to attract more. You need to broadcast differently. You need to wake up and decide, I will no longer emit fear as my baseline. You need to feel the frequency of the reality you want and practice being it until it feels more natural than the old version of you ever did. That's when the field listens. That's when the timelines shift. That's when the mirror starts showing a new reflection. Not because the universe changed, but because you did. You've probably been taught to manifest like it's a to-do list. Step 1, get clear on what you want. Step 2, visualize it. Step 3, write it down every morning. Step 4, affirm it out loud, like a command to the universe. Step 5, wait and hope it works. But something feels off, doesn't it? Like you're following the steps, doing all the right things, and yet the shift doesn't happen. The money doesn't show up. The relationship doesn't arrive. The life you dream of still feels one layer out of reach. Here's the reason why manual manifestation is broken. Not because the tools are wrong, but because the approach is. The old way teaches you to manipulate the external. The new way? It teaches you to embody the internal. Let me tell you a story. There was once a woman who wanted to manifest a new life. She had the vision board, the crystals, the affirmations. Every morning she repeated, I am abundant, I am powerful, I am free. She meditated, journaled, and visualized. She did everything she had been taught, but every time she opened her bank account, her stomach twisted. Every time she thought about leaving her job, her chest tightened. Every time she imagined the life she wanted, her nervous system sent signals of danger, fear, uncertainty, and the universe listened, not to her words, but to her body. It kept mirroring her survival state, not her spoken desires, because the field doesn't respond to scripts, it responds to signals. This is the trap of manual manifestation. You believe if you do enough, the change will come. But frequency doesn't work that way. You can't will yourself into a new life. You have to become the version of you who lives there, now before any proof shows up. And this becoming isn't mental. It's vibrational. You can't trick the field with language. You can't mask fear with affirmations. You can't override old trauma with a vision board. You have to rewire the signal at the source, at the level of identity. That means releasing the version of you who is still negotiating with your dreams. The one who says, I'll believe it when I see it. The one who's stuck in logic, waiting for permission. The one who's addicted to effort and uncomfortable with ease. Because your quantum leap won't come through pushing. It will come through permission, through coherence, through surrender to your new self. You're not trying to attract something that's far away. You're tuning into something that's already yours, but only accessible when you become the resonant frequency. Let me say that again. The version of reality you desire is already real, but only visible through the lens of the you who vibrates in alignment with it. The old self can't access the new timeline, not because it's not worthy, but because it's not tuned. This is why no amount of repetition will work if you're still anchored in the frequency of fear. This is why writing your goal 33 times a night doesn't matter if you still breathe like someone in survival. This is why the ritual doesn't matter unless the emotion matches the energy of the desired life. And this is the beautiful part. Because once you see it, you're no longer powerless. You stop outsourcing your manifestation to techniques. You stop measuring progress by external results. You stop forcing the field to respond and instead invite it. You start to ask better questions. What frequency am I embodying now? How does the future version of me move, speak, breathe? What can I shift in my state, right now, to become more aligned? Because quantum reality responds to the being, not the doing. It listens to the coherence of your present self, not the promises of your future dreams. You were never meant to manifest manually. You were designed to manifest magnetically, by becoming the version of you that life has no choice but to respond to. And that requires a letting go of timelines, letting go of control, letting go of trying to force reality into form. It requires trust. Not the passive kind, but the fierce kind. The kind that says, I don't need to see it yet to know it's real, because I've become the frequency that aligns with it. The field doesn't respond to urgency, it responds to certainty. And certainty comes when you stop asking, where is it? And start living like it's already here. That's the shift. That's the collapse. That's the end of the old identity, and the quiet birth of the new one. And when that shift happens, the field moves. Reality organizes. Synchronicities appear. And you didn't attract them. You simply tuned, and reality had no choice but to reflect. So if you don't attract what you want, you tune into it. The next question is, how do you actually tune? Not in theory, not in concept, but in practice, daily, simply, energetically. Most people believe the quantum leap is one dramatic event, one huge decision, one moment of lightning strike clarity that changes everything. But the truth is far more gentle and far more empowering. The quantum leap is not a leap. It's a series of micro-shifts, subtle realignments, small, potent acts of frequency, tiny moments where you choose to be the new version of you when no one else is watching. Let's begin with a fundamental truth. Your body doesn't lie. Your vibration is not what you think you are broadcasting. It's what your nervous system is doing. It's how your breath moves when you wake up. It's the emotion behind the decision you make when things don't go your way. It's the pause before the reaction, the signal you send when you're still. So we start here, embodiment first, not mindset, not affirmation, but state. Before you ask the universe for anything, ask your body, what am I vibrating right now? That's where we begin. Here is the practice. Simple, accessible, powerful. Every morning, before your phone, before your to-do list, before your mind hijacks your signal, sit in silence. Close your eyes, breathe into your body, and ask, who do I choose to be today? Not, what do I want? But, what version of me am I becoming now? And then feel that version, not visualize, embody. How does your future self sit, breathe, think, move through challenge? Anchor it in your posture, your breath, your emotion. This is not imagination. This is frequency. Now take one micro-action that matches that version of you. It can be as small as drinking your water like someone who respects their vessel, answering your messages with presence instead of anxiety, walking slower, talking less, breathing deeper. Not as a trick, not as a ritual, but as a signal to the field. This is who I am now. Every micro-shift collapses a timeline, not because the action is big, but because the vibration behind it is clean. And when you repeat these micro-shifts, you begin to rewrite your electromagnetic field. You no longer emit desperation, confusion, or fear. You become a walking coherence, a living transmitter of your new reality. And the field, that beautiful intelligent mirror, reorganizes itself around your new signal. But here's what most people miss. It's not about doing this once. It's about doing it consistently until the old version of you feels like a costume you no longer wear. This is how we tune, not with intensity, but with consistency. So here are your anchors. Audit your environment. Does it match the vibration of your future self? Or is it coded with the identity you've outgrown? Watch your language. Are you speaking from the version that has already arrived, or from the one that's still doubting? Track your micro-decisions. The future is not built in big moves. It's built in tiny, frequency-aligned choices. Practice breath coherence. Slow down your breath. Breathe from the version of you that already knows. Your nervous system holds the key, and most importantly, don't try to be perfect. Frequency doesn't mean pretending to be high vibe 24/7. It means being aware of when you're off and gently retuning, again and again and again, because that's what alignment is. It's not a one-time event. It's a lifestyle. Now, if this is landing for you, if something inside you is saying, yes, this is my truth, I want to invite you into a deeper moment of alignment. Take a breath. Feel into the version of you who no longer begs the universe for change, who no longer tries to attract, who no longer emits fear as the baseline, and in this moment, drop a signal into the field. Type in the comments, I choose frequency. Let it be more than a comment. Let it be a declaration. Let it be a vibrational code that says, I am no longer tuning into the noise. I am broadcasting from the life I've already chosen. This is not about the algorithm. It's not about the engagement. It's about the field. It's about the signal. It's about you. Because the moment you choose frequency, on purpose, is the moment your life starts tuning to match you. You don't attract your dream life. You become it, in micro shifts, in subtle alignments, in 1,000 quiet moments the world may never see. But the field always hears. There comes a moment in the path of every person shifting their frequency where the external still hasn't changed, but something deep inside already has. No applause, no evidence, no dramatic quantum event. Just a quiet knowing, I'm not who I used to be. And that is the leap. We tend to think the manifestation happens when the money hits the account, when the partner arrives, when the dream finally materializes. But those are echoes, residual signals. The real manifestation happens long before, in the space where you begin to live from your future self even though your current reality hasn't caught up yet. That's becoming. Becoming is invisible. It's silent. It doesn't ask for recognition. It asks for embodiment. It's the moment you stop trying to change your life and start living as if it's already changed. That subtle but seismic shift, that's the real power. There's a version of you already encoded in the quantum field who isn't chasing, who doesn't need to force, who remembers that everything is vibration and that alignment is the gateway. That version is not a fantasy, it's a frequency. And when you hold that frequency long enough, you start tuning your life toward it. But here's the key. You can't become that version by waiting for evidence. You become it by acting as if you're already there. Not in a performative way, not pretending, but practicing. Practicing a different response, a different belief, a different energy signature. This is not faking it. This is entrainment. You're training your body, your mind, your emotional system to recognize a new baseline. Becoming is not about distance. It's about resonance. The timeline you desire is not far away. It's simply vibrating at a level your current self hasn't stabilized in yet. But every time you make a decision from that place, you close the gap. You collapse space. You compress time. And eventually the outer world has no choice but to synchronize. So what does becoming look like? It looks like walking through your day with presence, instead of performing. It looks like choosing to trust the unseen, more than the familiar evidence. It looks like breathing differently in the middle of the same old trigger. It looks like honoring your vision enough to live like it's real, before it is. This is the sacred tension of the quantum shift. To remain faithful to a frequency before it becomes form. To act, not in response to what is, but in devotion to what will be. This requires courage. It requires self-leadership. It requires being so in tune with your future that you no longer collapse into the past. And yes, the old self will resist. The patterns will pull. The old thoughts will whisper, see, nothing's changed. But this is the test. This is the edge. This is where most people give up, because they confuse waiting with becoming. But they are not the same. Waiting is passive. Becoming is vibrational action. When you're becoming, you don't beg the universe. You partner with it. You walk as a co-creator. You wake up and tune into your future, not your fears. You speak from the place of embodiment, not entitlement. And you carry a calm certainty, not because you see the change yet, but because you are the change. That's the leap. And in this moment, if any part of you is feeling like nothing is happening, like you're doing everything right and still not seeing results, I want you to pause. Feel into your body. Breathe into your chest and ask, who am I being right now? Not what are you doing, not what are you hoping for, but what signal are you being? Because that is the only thing the field is responding to. And if the answer is, I'm still becoming, then you are exactly where you're meant to be. Becoming is the process of teaching your field to believe you. Not with effort, but with consistency. Not with noise, but with resonance. And the moment that signal stabilizes, everything shifts. So today, don't look for proof. Be the proof. Walk like it's real. Speak like it's done. Feel like it's here. And when doubt comes, smile. Not because you're unaffected, but because you remember that doubt is just an echo from a self you no longer live as. Now, take a breath and drop into the version of you who doesn't rush, who doesn't fear, who simply knows. That version already exists. You're not trying to find it. You're tuning into it. With every breath, every thought, every embodied choice. This is how you stop living from circumstance and start living from creation. Because in the quantum, you're not becoming the future. The future is remembering you. Some shifts don't make a sound. There's no applause, no lightning, no validation. But everything has changed. That's the nature of the silent frequency, the one that doesn't beg, doesn't push, doesn't perform. It simply is. It's the frequency that doesn't need evidence because it is the evidence. The vibration that doesn't chase the future because it embodies it. That's the frequency that resets reality. We've been taught to believe in effort, in control, in force. We've been conditioned to think that only loud change is real change. But in the quantum, silence is strength. Stillness is power. Because it is in that inner quiet. When the noise of doubt dies down and the self aligns, that reality begins to rearrange itself. Let's make something clear. You don't need to announce your transformation to be living it. You don't need to prove anything to anyone, not even to yourself. All you need to do is tune into the self that knows. Because knowing is its own frequency. It's not conceptual, it's cellular. This frequency doesn't come from learning more. It comes from unlearning. From releasing the layers of identity that told you had to wait. From discarding the mental rituals that made you feel almost ready. From choosing, again and again, to show up as the frequency of what you once only dreamed about. It's subtle, almost unnoticeable from the outside, but from within it feels like peace, like alignment, like truth. And when that signal stabilizes, not because you forced it, but because you remembered it, the field responds, but not in a loud way, in an organic way, in a way that feels like things are finally clicking without explanation. People shift, doors open, opportunities find you, and you won't even be surprised, because you were never trying. You were just matching. The frequency does the work, and the most powerful frequency is the one that doesn't perform. It just vibrates. Think of it like tuning a radio. You don't scream at the dial. You simply adjust the frequency until you hear the clarity of the station you were meant to receive. It was always broadcasting. You just needed to align your reception. That's you. That's your life. That's your new reality, already encoded in the quantum, waiting for you to tune in. And now, you are. You've stopped trying to attract. You've stopped emitting fear. You've stopped negotiating with your dream. Now you're resonating, matching, and becoming. So what happens next? You keep tuning, not once, not perfectly, but daily, through every emotion, every decision, every breath. You keep showing the field that you are no longer aligned with waiting, doubt, or distortion. You are aligned with clarity, with trust, with embodiment. That's the shift that no algorithm can capture, no checklist can measure, no timeline can predict. It's a shift that only you will feel first, and the world will follow. So if you've been here, through all 6 chapters of this journey, pause for a moment, not to summarize, not to analyze, but to feel, because something has moved inside you, maybe quietly, maybe deeply, but it has moved, and that's the beginning of everything. And if you haven't yet, I invite you to subscribe, to expand in frequency with a community that's not chasing reality, but collapsing it. Because here, we don't attract, we tune. And reality, it always responds.